Hello, everyone. I am to discuss the steps and skills needed in the communication process. Here are the objectives of my presentation. First is to discuss the steps in the communication process and to enumerate the skills needed when communicating with adult learners. The communication process is relatively simple and is divided into three basic components: the sender, the channel, and the receiver. The sender will initiate the communication process by developing an idea into a message. This is also known as encoding. The sender will then transmit the message through a channel or a method of delivery. Think of things like email, phone conversations, instant messages, face to face discussion, or even a text message. The message then moves through the channel to the receiver, who completes the communication process by interpreting and assigning meaning to the message, which is also known as decoding. Now, since most communication exchanges involve a continued dialogue between senders and receivers, a feedback loop was added to the communication process. The feedback loop is a critical component in the communication process because it ensures the message was properly received and interpreted by the other party. In the workplace, feedback is especially significant so that the manager can be certain that the messages that he or she sends are, in fact, received and interpreted correctly, eliciting the appropriate action from subordinates. It is where the communication process starts to get tricky. We all know that there is a major difference between hearing and listening. We can use either one of these during communication process, but it is only those individuals who use effective listening skills when communicating that will be able to check for understanding during the exchange. An understanding is achieved when both the sender and receiver agree on the shared meaning of the message. That is, that each party can agree on what is being communicated without the need for inferences or assumptions. Let's look into a couple of scenarios. Have you ever talked with a friend about a problem only to realize that he just doesn't seem to grasp why the issue is so important to you? Have you ever presented an idea into a group and it's met with utter confusion? Or maybe you've been in an argument when the other person suddenly accuses you of not listening to what they're saying at all. What's going on here? The answer is miscommunication. And in some form or another, we've all experienced it. It can lead to confusion, animosity, misunderstanding, or even crashing a multi-million peso jet into the surface of Mars. The fact is, even when face to face with another person in the very same room and is speaking the same language, human communication is incredibly complex. But the good news is that a basic understanding of what happens when you communicate can help us prevent miscommunication. Here are some simple practices that can help navigate interactions for better communication with adult learners. 1. Recognize that passive hearing and active listening are not the same. Engage actively with the verbal and non-verbal feedback of others, and adjust your message to facilitate greater understanding. 2. Listen with your eyes and ears as well as with your guts. Remember that communication is more than just words. 3. Take time to understand as you try to be understood. In the rush to express ourselves, it's easy to forget that communication is a two-way street. Be open to what other person might say. 4. Be aware of your personal perceptual filters. Elements of your experience, including your culture, community, and family, influence how you see the world. Say, "This is how I see the problem." But how do you see it? Don't assume that your perception is the objective truth. That'll help you work toward sharing a dialogue with others to reach a common understanding together. Another important skill when communicating to adult learners is active listening. It is the act of fully hearing and comprehending the meaning of what someone else is saying. Avoid getting distracted by your own thoughts. Focus on the speaker and the topic instead. Try not to interrupt the other person. Let them finish and then respond. Use door openers. These are phrases that show you're interested and keep the other person talking. Show that you're listening with body language. If appropriate, take notes during important conversations. Paraphrase what others have said to make sure that you're both on the same page. Another skill is the nonverbal communication. The verbal signals are wordless communication. Body position, facial expression, hand movements, gestures, eye contact, attitude, and tone of your voice, muscle tension, and the way you or we breathe. The way you look, listen, create, react, gestures speaks far more about feelings than words will ever be able to. Developing the ability to understand others and use nonverbal signals will help you connect with others, express what you think, meet challenging situations, and build better relationships at work. Another is stress management. Stress can be very useful and encouraging when communication. However, when the stress becomes constant and completely begins to take effect, it can affect communication, clarity of opinion, and appropriate behavior and action. When you are under stress, you may misunderstand other people, send confusing nonverbal signals, and use funny patterns of behavior. Emotion control. In communication, feelings play an important role. Making decisions more often affects the way you feel than the way you think. Guided by emotions, your nonverbal behavior affects the understanding of other people and how others understand and perceive you. If you are not aware of your feelings you are guided, you will not be able to express your needs and experiences. This could result frustration, misunderstanding, and conflicts. Control of emotions provide you with tools to understand others, yourself, and messages you send. Prepare what you're going to say. Think before you speak. Most of us work best when we have time to process our own thoughts before we share them. If the conversation or meeting is worth your precious time, take a few minutes to prepare the speech draft. For a very important conversation, try a mock up conversation with a trusted person so you could get rid of any potential mistakes. Next, be ready for different answers. As you formulate a speech strategy, put yourself in the position of a person who will listen to you. This will ensure balanced approach and you will be prepared to learn and defend potential disagreements, and it will be easier for you to defend your standpoint. No one can predict with certainty how other people will react. Improve chances of successful conversation by expecting negative answers and queries.
Express yourself. What size? All right. 3 venti lattes. Would you care for a pastry? Nope. Mocha. 3 mocha lattes. Oof. Double chocolate chip muffin. Yum. You want 3 Paul McCartney CDs. Awesome. I love the Beatles. They are my life. So American. Assassination. Abraham Lincoln. You, me, gun, shoot. 3 shots. I know, I'm a little slow today. All right, so 3 lattes, 3 mochas, double chocolate chip muffin, and 3 shots. No assassinations. Oh, and 3 Paul McCartney CDs. That's gonna be 6812.
Thank you everyone for listening and have a good weekend.